Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. This is episode 1 of the weekly series where I answer your questions about Paladins, life, the universe, and everything. So I asked you guys about a week ago on my community tab whether you wanted me to start a series where I answer your questions about Paladins, gaming, and just pretty much anything you wanted to ask me. And a lot of people said yes. So I made a second community post asking for your questions to answer in this week's episode. And you guys gave me a ton of questions, more than 80. And while I can't get to every single question that you guys asked because either a lot of them are repeats or some of them just aren't very good, I'm going to be trying to answer the best questions that I saw in the community post and keep going on question by question until we get to about 15 or 20 minutes in this video. So yeah, that's kind of going to be the general format of these videos going forward every week. So yeah, if you guys have any questions for next week's episode, make sure to drop them in the comments section down below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the very first question. So, from Pizzazzleness, if you could take one character from Overwatch and bring them into Paladins, who would it be and why? What changes would you make to them more balanced for this game? Well, obviously I'm not going to try and take someone who is already got a similar counterpart in Paladins. So, for example, I wouldn't take Pharah because we already have Drogoz, and Drogoz is better than Pharah in most cases because he's more unique and has, you know, more builds and playstyles and stuff. Same thing with like someone like Soldier 76, you know? Just generic and already has a counterpart for the most part. So I would take someone who pretty much is original and doesn't really have a counterpart in Paladins. And the first person that comes to my mind is Doomfist, because I can't think for the life of me of a similar character in Paladins to Doomfist. Like, no one I've played has really any skills that I can transfer over to Doomfist and just pick him up and do good, kind of like I can with Pharah. So I would pretty much scale up his numbers by 10, just because that's kind of the difference. You know, 200 health in Overwatch is pretty much equivalent to 2,000 health in Paladins. So I would scale all that up by 10, and then if we find out that he's a little bit too overpowered in his burst or whatever, we could turn those down accordingly. But I would keep the same skill set because it's pretty unique, pretty fun, and even though it's a little bit controversial in Overwatch, I think he would fit right in Paladins in terms of his skill set. He'd be a really nice flank champion to have. Our next question comes from Ruben Stewart. Do you think a visual and perhaps code overhaul are essential to a thriving Paladins community in the future? I got quite a few similar questions to this one, pretty much asking what I think about the future of Paladins, and honestly I have to say that I think everyone can agree Paladins would be way better in Unreal Engine 4, or even, you know, the betas of Unreal Engine 5. It would probably be a much better game, it'd probably be less glitchy, and it would probably overall have a better experience. But the problem is upgrading to an engine like that, which, I mean, if they could have upgraded to Unreal Engine 4, I feel like they probably would have done that if it was easy to do that, but they haven't. So I imagine that there's some resource-extensive reason as to why they can't upgrade to that. And the problem for them is, how profitable would it be to really upgrade to the engine? If it might draw again like a few thousand more players, like would that even be worth it? I'm not sure. They probably have discussed this at some point, and there's probably a good reason why they haven't. And also, I guess, the other problem with like a code overhaul or just like making like a Paladins 2 or something in a better engine would be like, this game doesn't exactly have the best reputation, you know, with like OB64 and all the bugs that have happened in the past. It doesn't have the best reputation, especially when compared to Overwatch, at least by a lot of people that I know. So the problem with making a Paladins 2 or making it in a different engine would be that I don't know how attractive it would be to dragging in new players despite all that. So I'm not really sure. But then as far as visuals are concerned, honestly they have been killing it with the recent skins in terms of the actual quality of like the textures and the models and stuff. Like if you compare a skin from 2021 to something that came out in 2018, you're going to notice a big difference. Or even earlier, 2017, 2016. The difference is just night and day in terms of the quality. So I actually think they're doing a pretty darn good job with the visuals. I mean, despite this one thing on the recent Jaguar Falls rework, they're doing a good job on that. So I don't think that's necessarily the big problem with Paladins. It has its own theme. It has, you know, pretty decent visuals in terms of like generally just the aesthetic of it. But the main thing is that engine. And while I think everyone would love it to be in a better engine, I'm not sure if that'll ever be even possible. Anyways, next up from Koku TV. Who's your favorite Paladins content creator? P.S. So excited for the Q&A series. Well, of course, my favorite Paladins content creator is me. I mean, there's no one better, obviously. I'm just the best Paladins content creator ever, and I really like my gameplay videos, and my guides are just top-notch, and I think I'm the best, and I'm just full of myself, and I think that I am the best. Nah, for real, though, for real. Yeah, so I don't really watch that many, like, Paladins gameplay creators, just because Paladins is kind of, sort of like a job for me, almost. I really enjoy the game, don't get me wrong. But after playing the game, you know, for 3 hours most days on stream, and then sometimes a little bit more with some friends if I'm feeling it, I don't want to then go and watch more Paladins gameplay to relax, because that's just too much Paladins for me. So I don't really watch many creators of Paladins, but if I did have to pick a favorite, I wouldn't really pick a gameplay person. Instead, I'd probably say Daddy Mouse, just because his skin reviews are top-notch in terms of, like, the editing and the thumbnails and stuff. Like, honestly, I'm a little bit jealous. I wish I could edit my videos as well as he edits his, because they are really high quality, and honestly, they deserve more views than they get, because, yeah, they are absolutely fantastic. So that's going to be my answer for that. Alright, the next question comes from Commander Penguin. What other pastimes do you have apart from gaming? Was gaming something you were always interested in doing as your career? Well, I mean, to that second question, I would say, yeah. As long as I've been actually seriously thinking about careers, I've kind of wanted to go into gaming in terms of, like, a development stance of, like, being a programmer, designing my own games, stuff like that. And, well, as far as, like, following through with that, let's just say it's complicated, but yeah, as far as like actually gaming for YouTube and Twitch and kind of acting as an entertainer and a content creator, I mean, I've always considered that to be kind of like, I don't know, it would be a really fun option for me to do as a career if I could actually make it work. And with how much we've been growing recently, honestly, I mean, we wait like a year or two, hey, maybe I could do it as a full-time career, but yeah, in the meantime, I mean, I do want to kind of pursue my other passion, which is to create games. And yeah, it's just kind of always been there as something I've wanted to do. As far as other pastimes I do apart from gaming, recently I've been learning how to cook, kind of making, you know, basic pastas and meats and stuff like that, and kind of just learning and growing my skills with that, because it's fun, you know, making your own food, kind of being in total control of that, and just learning the processes that go along with it. And I've also been learning, like, some beatboxing techniques and stuff like that, just because I think it's an interesting art form. And there are some absolutely wicked beatboxers out there who I can't really emulate, but I can still throw down a decent beat, you know? Just something basic like that. I can try and get more complicated with my beats, but the more complicated I get, the more of a chance I mess up, and the worse it sounds when I do mess up. So yeah, that's all you get from me for now. But yeah, that's pretty much the answer to both of those questions, so thank you for asking. Alright, the next one comes from Dirt Gamer 101. A simple yet difficult question which probably isn't the intention of the Q&A. Well, I mean, if it's a question, right? That's the intention of the Q&A. Could you make a 2021 guide for Atlas? He is my main, but I don't see many guides for him and just want to see someone else's opinion, but only if you think you can. Dirt Gamer. Oh, no. Atlas is my worst character. Straight up, he's the only character in Paladins Champions of the Realm who I cannot play decently. I can play everyone else at least decently. I'd say a good chunk of people I can play well. And of course there's, you know, Eevee, Bomb King, people like that who I can play exceptionally well. But Atlas? No. No. I have 2 tips for Atlas. First, don't accept any Atlas tips from me. Second, the typical tip that everyone knows, where you rewind Terminus after result, and you have a pretty good chance of killing him. Those are the only 2 tips I have. I do not play Atlas, and honestly I need someone else to make an Atlas guide for me. So if any other content creators who are good at Atlas are watching this video, hey, you got at least 1 view on your Atlas guide, alright? Anyways, next up comes from Doc Holiday. Do you plan on doing some more Overwatch content, either on Twitch or YouTube? Short answer, no. Long answer, I do have 2 videos planned, which is kind of just a mini-series of top 5 videos. The first one being 5 reasons why Paladins is better than Overwatch, and the second one being 5 reasons why Overwatch is better than Paladins. Because both games do things better than each other. They're both in the same genre, so why not compare them and just see what both games do better. I don't have a release date planned for that, but I do know that I do want to make those videos at some point. Other than that, I don't really have anything planned for Overwatch 1. Once Overwatch 2 comes out, I definitely want to make some content on that, because I think it'll be really fun to try and make videos on that. But yeah, the reason I don't want to make Overwatch content anymore, in terms of Overwatch 1, by the way, is just because I don't really have much else to make. Like, The new player experience was fun, right? The novelty of a Paladins YouTuber trying Overwatch, pretty good. New player ranked experience, that was pretty fun. But past that, like, now I'm just in this awkward position where I'm not very good at the game, and I'm already pretty late on the Overwatch content scene, so I just feel more comfortable waiting until Overwatch 2, where it's a fresh experience for pretty much everybody, and then I can make videos on Overwatch 2 once that finally arrives on the scene. Alright, the next question comes from Victoria, a fellow content creator. Curious as to how you get your video ideas, and how long does it take for you to edit your videos? Well, for the first question, I don't really know. They just come from a variety of sources. Sometimes I just have an idea pop into my head and I'm like, oh, that could be a fun video. Other times it's like a viewer suggested or friend suggested thing, kind of like the Soviet Army Tactics video, which we did kind of a while back. And yeah, other times it's just something that's so blatantly obvious that I would be a bad YouTuber if I didn't make content on it, like the new PTS changes and stuff like that whenever those drop. So, yeah. And then as far as guides are concerned, because, I mean, I do need ideas for those, I pretty much just make guides on whoever I feel really comfortable on. So, like, you know, the BK guide that I've made like 3 times now, the EV guide, Mave guide, stuff like that. You know, just people who I feel comfortable on and people who I think need a guide. So that's kind of where I get my ideas for videos. And for, like, stream highlights and stuff, honestly, I just upload the best stuff from my stream. Like, if something fun happens or something interesting happens, I post it on the YouTube channel. So that's kind of how I get it, and I just find it really easy to keep the content going. I never really have a drought, because at the end of the day, I can always just fall back to streams, because something interesting always happens there. But as far as editing goes, if we're talking the basic content that I do just kind of as fillers between guides and stuff like that, doesn't take me long at all. Most of the time spent editing is literally just previewing the footage to see if I need to add any edits in, or if I need to cut out a certain part or something like that. So usually it takes me about like 20 to 30 minutes, just depending on the length of the video. But my guides, those are the long boys. So it takes me a few hours to make the script, just writing, composing, getting thoughts together, stuff like that, doing research. Then it takes me another few hours to get the footage, including like clips for, you know, demonstrating certain abilities and stuff like that. Then it takes me a few more hours to edit it together, because we've got to get all the audio clips, all the video clips in the appropriate spots. Also got to add headers, information blurbs, stuff like that. So it's kind of a multi-day thing, because I don't stress and spend like 10 hours on one day just getting the entire thing done from start to finish. So I spend a few hours each day for making a guide, kind of for like 2 to 3 days. And yeah, those are definitely longer, more extensive videos than, you know, the regular stream highlights. Anyways, next up, a question from Wasim. Was 33M Aslam? Sure, I know how to read that. What other games do you like to play off stream? I have been getting into Sea of Thieves recently, really, really heavily. So a friend introduced me to it, and I've been absolutely addicted ever since, because yeah, I don't know, it's just interesting. It's like an open world PvP, but also PvE aspects. And it's a pirate game where you go around, you dig up treasure, you go do missions, you kill ghost ships. You can even kill other players and steal their loot. Or vice versa, have them kill you and they steal your loot. So it's a bit of an interesting game. It's pretty fun, and yeah, I've been heavily into that. But other games that I play, I've played a few thousand hours of Warframe, and I'm at the point in that game now where I have pretty much done everything, so it's kind of boring. As far as, yeah, other games though, Minecraft, play that from time to time. A little bit disappointed with 1.17 because there's no new mountain or cave generation, which is kind of the name of the update, so a little bit sad about that. And then I also play Path of Exile from time to time, and I play Sid Meier's Civilization 6 from time to time. Really been into that series, kind of. Have played Civ 6, Civ 5, Civ 3, all that stuff, that whole series since I was a child, so. Anyways, next up, we have a few questions from Cusco. Who is the highest skill-based champion in each category and why? Eevee for flanks, because she requires impeccable game sense, flicks shots, because you're teleporting and soaring around and stuff. You gotta have, you know, really good aim. Just a whole lot of things have to come together, and you have to be really good at a lot of things in the game, like reflexes, timing other enemies, like shots and stuff like that, so you can know when to use Ice Block. There's just so much that goes into playing her, which easily makes her the most difficult tank. Or most difficult flank, excuse me. Most difficult tank would be Atlas, because, well, he's got a complicated kit that's pretty sluggish, has long cooldowns, a lot of lockout on his abilities, so you gotta be very deliberate with when you use your abilities. And there's also a lot of ways to sabotage your team, like you can rewind an entire group of enemies out of a Koga ult, or you can rewind a Xin ult target, or something like that. And you can just completely sabotage your teammates and save your enemies, so you gotta be really careful with how you use him, which easily makes him more difficult than someone like Fernando or even Makoa. Most difficult healer, Honestly, healers aren't really that difficult, but if I had to choose one, I would say Moldambo, just because you actually have to aim with him, which isn't a requirement for someone like Saris, and his projectiles are also pretty hard to hit in terms of like his snake venom, his snake toss, and even his gourd can be a little bit tricky to get it in the right place, especially with how it bounces sometimes. And then the most difficult damage champion, I am torn between Drogoz and Bomb King. Honestly, either of them could be it. Drogoz has, you know, a decently difficult kit, but he also has like 15 different counters, and Bomb King just has one of the most difficult projectiles in the game. It's a lobbed, arcing projectile, which is relatively slow, and you also have to manually detonate it yourself. Pretty difficult. So that's my answer to that question. How do you keep interest in games having thousands of hours? Well, honestly, the community. If a game doesn't have a good community around it, then I probably won't stick around long. And also the game has to have some pretty good replayability, because even if a community is great around a game, if it gets stale and, you know, repetitive, and there's not really anything new coming to the game in terms of like updates and stuff, I also probably won't stick around that long. So for something like Paladins, which I have thousands of hours into, more than I probably should, the reason I've stuck with it for so long is, A, I like the game's mechanics. I mean, I'm still not the best at some champions, so there's something new for me to learn. And every match is completely different because it's a competitive game. You know, you play against different players almost every time. And there's also a lovely community we have around it. I have plenty of friends who play this game. So that's kind of why I've stuck around with it for so long. And lastly, what new game modes do you think they should add? I'm with the people who want Payload back. I really want it. Give it to me. It's an old game mode, but it's gold, and I want it back into the game. I feel like it would easily be more popular than Onslaught, maybe even TDM. So, I want it back. Anyways, next question from Hawk. Are you going to college soon, or are you planning to do YouTube or Twitch full-time? Also, would you consider being a content creator to be your dream job? Much love. Thank you for the love. So, I am going to college soon for game design. I kind of mentioned I was interested in that earlier in this episode, and yeah, so I will be going to college for that. But I'm still going to try and upload YouTube videos, and I'm going to try and stream while I'm in college. It's going to be a little bit difficult, and I might not be able to stream as much as I usually do, but I still want to try and keep the content rolling. So, yeah, it might slow down a little bit, but it's not going to stop. And as far as content creator being a dream job, it absolutely would be. I mean, as far as it is right now, I mean, the schedule is pretty flexible. I kind of work on my own time. I'm my own boss. You pretty much, the only problem with being a content creator full-time is, you know, kind of just the whims of YouTube, you know? Some days it doesn't advertise your videos as well. Sometimes a video just doesn't succeed, kind of flops. And sometimes they just decide, hey, you know how you like making money off videos? Well, how about we take this video in particular and just give it a yellow little monetization thing, which hasn't happened to me in a while, but it could. So, you know, there is still that too, which is kind of the risk of being a content creator as a full job. But I mean, if we keep growing, if we were to like double in size or triple in size, I mean, it could be feasible. It could be feasible. So I definitely would really like to do that if I could. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep pursuing kind of a more stable thing in the meantime and just kind of keep them both going side by side. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. And last but not least, we have a question from Evie. Not to be confused with Eevee and Paladins, this is EV, like the electric vehicle. What are your political opinions on lettuce? Oh boy. Okay, so a general rule of thumb, all right, for content creation, if you don't want controversy to happen, is just do not bring up anything political, all right? Politics is the easiest way to divide your fan base in half, right? You bring up your political stance on one thing, you're going to get some people who love it, some people who hate it, and it's just not a good idea, in my opinion. So I really hate to answer this question, but I feel like it has to anyways, okay? I am all for the rights of lettuce, all right? I think they need equal treatment next to cabbage, because cabbage and lettuce, they're pretty similar, right? But cabbage is over here just, you know, it's being all cool, right? It's got all these, you know, rights and stuff. It's all, you know, it's all good over with the cabbage. But in the meantime, lettuce, I just feel like is neglected. Everyone views it as just that weird green stuff on your hamburger. And, like, it needs, you know, it needs to be recognized for what it is, which is just a fantastic vegetable. And so, yeah, those are my political opinions on lettuce. I hope that hasn't divided my fan base that much, and I hope that, you know, you don't unsubscribe for that opinion, even though it is pretty controversial. I think lettuce is pretty great. So, yeah, that is pretty much my answer to that question. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. If you have, make sure to drop a like to let me know if you want me to continue this series, and also leave your questions down in the comment section for next week's episode. I'll try and answer the best questions, and yeah, hopefully it'll be about another 20-minute long video. This has actually gone on longer than the first attempt I recorded this, because back to the mic situation, I recorded it and heard nothing but crackles. Oh no. But anyways, also make sure to check out the Discord server and the Twitch channel, both of which are linked in the description below. We have a wonderful community on Discord with a few thousand members, so go check it out. And I also stream regularly on Twitch. Plenty of Paladins content there, so you don't want to miss that. And lastly, I want to give a huge shout out to the members of the channel for helping to support what I do. If you want to help support my content and unlock some fun new emojis as well as an exclusive role in the Discord server, then just click the join button right next to the subscribe button. It's cheap and it helps out a lot. Anyways, I will see you all next time. Peace out.